My neighbor and my friend asked me if I would be her birthing coach. I was 38 at the time, no children. Her husband was overseas all the time at work, and I saw this not only as a gift to my friend, but an opportunity to see and get up close and personal at a birth of a baby. Since I wasn't going down that road, I thought, this will be interesting. My excitement was equal to hers for the 9 months in waiting. Suddenly it was time. I watched my friend. I was helpless. She was in excruciating pain. There was the crowning of the head, the episiotomy, and out that baby came. Took me back to seeing cats and dogs when I was a kid, growing up, and they had a whole bunch. They'd be like 6 at a time, and thought, God forbid, one is something I certainly don't want to do. But after she had this baby, I was surprised that she said, I'm going to do it again. Why would anybody put themselves through that pain again? But I was an old pro, so I did it. Then there were 2 kids. I helped her out with afternoon breaks. I did the birthday parties because I'm the creative one. I picked them up from nursery school when she couldn't. There was a workshop, and she said, I want you to go to this workshop with me, and we'll find a babysitter, or maybe her husband was home at the time, I can't remember. And at this workshop, there was an exercise where you were to pick 5 people out of the group that you would take on a spaceship to start a new civilization. Well, I chose her. She was my friend. She was a psychotherapist. I respected her. I trusted her. Thought she had good judgment and wisdom. But she did not put me on her list. And I later asked why. And she said, because you don't have children and you don't want to have any children. Oh my God. Did she really think I had no value at all since I had chosen not to be a breeder? Was I useless to society because of this decision? Jeez. After the workshop, she became more and more distant and gradually terminated our friendship. And again, I said, why? And she said, well, I have children now, and I have nothing in common with you anymore. All of a sudden, I was dispensable. But again and again, I would see this pattern with my friends who had children. They would slowly and surely just disappear from my life. It was just a lifelong frustration and anger about the way people responded to me when they found out that I didn't have children or I didn't want to have them. Their reactions ran the gamut. One was like, well, you must have had a bad childhood. I had a great childhood. My mother told me after having my brother, who was well over 9 pounds, that she was reluctant to have another child, but she really wanted a little girl. And after her mother died, that intensified. So she got pregnant. They did x-rays back then. My hands were out. I was big. And they told her it's probably going to be a boy. She told me throughout the years, every trial and tribulation of her pregnancy with me was worth everything. To hear those words in the delivery room. It's a girl, 9 pounds, all toes and fingers. She looked to the sky and said, thank you. I will never ask for anything else. I have it all. Every year of my life until she died, she would call me on my birthday and tell me that story. I was loved. I had near perfect parents, and I was not the perfect child, but I kept thinking, could I be like my mother? She did everything. Girl Scout leader, Bible school, master seamstress, made all the cheerleading and prom outfits. She cooked all the great fried chicken and gravy, coconut cream pies. My my mom and I were so connected, our love so unconditional while I was growing up, that I feared that if I had children, I would never be able to recreate that incredible bond that I had with her. I heard also, Aralyn, I think you would make a great mother. Well, I grew up assuming I would be a wife, mother, and homemaker. I majored in home economics in college so I could be the best wife, mother, and homemaker the world had ever seen. I was president of the Future Homemakers of America. I believed wholeheartedly that the hand that rocked the cradle ruled the nation. But I started doing a lot of babysitting when I was in my teens, and I hated it. I was in tears. There was no joy about it whatsoever. I was just mad and enraged, and I was really shocked at my feelings. Why didn't I love these children? Why did I want to throw them over the balcony? I mean, I didn't do it, of course, with tears streaming down my face on numerous occasions. I would call my mother, who lived down the street, and she'd come over. And I would see how natural everything was to her in dealing with children. I did not relish an idea of a 18-year commitment to having children. It sounded terrible. You know what I did, baby? Was my dolls. I had a collection one time of 42 dolls. I hung them on the wall by the back of their dress. They are the best children anyone could ever have. And I still have most of those dolls, and I have all the clothes that they wore because my mother made the scraps out of the clothes that she made me. You know, looking back, I don't think I was cut out to be a mother, but I might have been cut out to be a dad. But it just wasn't in the universe. No one ever said to me, you'd make a great dad. But I was more aligned with who he was than my mother in terms of my own personality. He was solid. He made me feel safe. But he's not the one I went to when I was upset about things. I went to my mother. I was crying and throwing a fit about not getting some award at school or what somebody said to me, blah, blah, blah. My dad would come home. He'd come in my room and he'd say, in a couple of days, in a week, in a month, in a year, in a lifetime, you're not even going to remember this. It's not important. My mother would yell from the kitchen and say, she doesn't want to hear that right now, Paul. Stop it. But I was kind of practical, no nonsense, like he was. And I think I would have made a good dad. People used to comment on childbirth isn't that bad, really. It's like, are you kidding? Everything I heard about it was awful. On Memorial Day, we'd go up to the cemeteries and I would read those tombstones, and I'd say, why did these people die so young? Oh, childbirth. Bless her heart. She died in childbirth. She left all those children without a mother. It's like, Jesus. And then, some women don't have menstrual cramps, but I was one of the ones who did. It was horrendous. Hot and cold flashes. I passed blood clots the size of an olive. And I thought, childbirth just has to be more painful than these cramps. I could never bear it. I'm not going to do it. I got with the doctors as soon as I could and said, let's fix me so I don't have any children. And they said, oh, you're going to change your mind. And they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do a hysterectomy. They wouldn't do any kind of sterilization. And let's just say I eventually had a hysterectomy, but if I had known what I know now, I would have had that hysterectomy at age 12, not age 48. Someone did ask me to get married. I didn't think they ever would. But I didn't want to hurt their feelings, so I said yes. And after all, I didn't want to be an old maid, a spinster. Back in the 50s, that was the title I'd be wearing. And then it started after I got married with the, well, when are we going to hear the little pitter-patter of little feet? When are you going to start a family? How many children do you plan to have? Are you going to be a stay-at-home mom? Are you kidding? No. Then they, also asked, do you have a needle and thread in your purse? No, I don't. Society and my community tried to tell me that the Holy Trinity was virginity, marriage, and children. It was like next to God. But the more I got into it, being married and moving forward in that, I just thought, oh no. I mean, even having sex as a virgin that first night when I got married, it was like, oh my God. For this I waited? I'd never even seen a naked man really, or his genitals, before I got married. I guess that was about 1968. Sylvia Plath said, and I quote, seeing a naked man immediately made her think of turkey necks and gizzards. Same with me. On my honeymoon night, I was trying to figure out arms, legs, where did they go? I was so shy. I was so embarrassed. I wanted to call my mother and have her come over and sort all this out like she did with those rotten kids I was babysitting. One day, I happened to be alone with the wife of my husband's commanding officer in the Navy. And we had a conversation, and I just blurted out, I don't know whether to have children or not. You have to tell me the truth about what it's like. She said, well, I love my children. I'd lay down on the train tracks in front of an oncoming train to protect them. But if I were you, I wouldn't do it. Go have fun, see the world, be creative, be independent, be free. You can have an ex-husband, an ex-job, an ex-hometown. But children are forever. They are irrevocable. Well, I thought about it some more. People told me, my marriage would be stronger if I had children. And I couldn't make any sense of that. My marriage was not that in order much. And I just didn't think any of this stuff was cracked up to be what they told me. It was kind of expectation minus reality equals disappointment. I was disappointed. I felt I'd been lied to. They made up all this stuff. This is going to be so great. No, it wasn't. After 9 years of marriage, and I continue to say I am not having children, he filed for divorce. And I've always been grateful that I didn't have children because it would have connected me to that man forever. And as time went by, it became perfectly clear to me that having an adventurous sex life with different partners was more my cup of tea than monogamy. And people used to make a big deal out of, who's going to take care of you in your golden years? Like children or some kind of insurance policy. If I even had children, I wouldn't move in with them when I got older. I'm too independent. And that's probably not going to change any. My parents refused to move in with me. And I guess the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree on that. I took care of my parents when they were dying. I was present with them, not because it was an obligation, but because I was their daughter and I wanted to be there. I wanted them to live forever. But it was not a reality. when I cared for my parents, I thought a lot about what kind of parent I would have made. I think I would have been pretty good. I would have been able to be present with children like I was with my parents. It could have been possible. But instead of backup token two children or whatever to lean on, I became very proactive to forge a community of friends who would take care of each other. My close friend had throat cancer. Oh my God, is that awful. It was surgery, trachs, feeding tubes for months. We got together and organized a schedule where we were with her in 6-hour shifts from the time she entered MD Anderson until she stabilized at home. Some people who have family and who have children certainly don't have the caliber of this community of friends that I saw. And then, of course, another thing I heard is you're just being selfish not to have children. And it's like, what kind of sense does that make? People trying to do what's right for them and what's right for the world and what's right for them, mostly, is not selfish. I know it kind of seems that way, but I just don't understand why everybody has to be a breeder. Everybody doesn't have to like tapioca. Some do, some don't. So what? I wanted to have a life and not make a lot of sacrifice and to be free. No tokens. I didn't want to live by other people's beliefs and thoughts. One of my jobs was the director of the first abortion clinic in Austin, Texas. There was not one woman there that wanted or planned to be there. The relief I saw in the eyes of the women leaving the clinic was something I treasure and I will never forget. It was the most gratifying job I ever had because I provided compassion, empathy, respect, in a nurturing way for these women. If I had had children, it's not likely I would have been able to serve the women at the abortion clinic. Was it a selfish choice? There were a lot of teens in this clinic having abortions. And it led me to have 3 foster teens, not all at the same time, but one at a time. And I was nurturing and caring for them, but I was really glad when my 6-month time frame or my year time frame was over and I got my freedom back. Having children was just not my calling on a full-time basis. Of course, I think sometimes I should have had children because I would have full-time tech support. I never knew about computers. That was not in my decision making. I could have had a kid and then I would be able to work my computer and my phone and my iPad and all that stuff now. I'm a creative person, and it has not missed my realm of thinking or whatever that the ultimate creation may be the birthing of a child. But I took the road not taken. And again, people took the other road. It doesn't really matter what road you take. It's just a different road. Just another fork. So you can only choose one, and you do. My life has not been perfect. It's not been sheer bliss. And I'm sure that's true for all women, whether they've had children or not. studies have shown that people who have children are not any happier or not any less lonely than people who don't have children. You know, something else I think about is my friends, like in high school and stuff, had mothers who committed suicide. What was that pain about? Did they love their children? Did they take the wrong road? What? Just a mystery to me. And my husband, when we talked about having children, said, well, I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave my genes behind. And I thought, oh my God, is that the dumbest thing I've ever heard? Like he's somehow important? He's a gift to the world? No, I don't think so. I didn't birth babies, but I birthed projects. And in some ways, it's my legacy. Telling my life story through being a storyteller, my art, my performance, documentary, movie, book, blah, 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 blah. But I had a choice to be free and child-free. And this was because of the presence of birth control pills for the first time in my generation when I was about 19 years old, and then later legal abortion, which of course, yeah, we won't even go there. But I will say that, you know, I'm 78, I'm going to die sometime soon, and the world will go on. I don't have to leave a legacy. I don't have to leave my genes behind. I just think it's stupid. I do understand that women who have children can't understand women like me who don't want to have them. And just as often, women who don't have children, we're baffled at why those women want to have have children, and sometimes 3 or 4. I don't know. You remember that woman I talked about in the beginning that didn't choose me to go on the spaceship? When her children were grown and gone, 27 years or so later, she posed a question of renewing our friendship. She said even though we had not been close, like we had been, that she still considered me a good friend that she could rely on. And I spoke the truth, that I felt that she'd not been there for me, and that I was not sure I could be there for her now, or trust her to appreciate a friendship we might develop again, or I could not be sure she wouldn't reject me again. I just didn't want to do it. If I could go back now, all these years later, and be present in the same workshop, I would have chosen 5 people, and I would have chosen people with more practicality and need for a new generation. I would have picked women who could procreate in the new world. I would have just not been one of them.